Okay, let's get started. Our first presenter today is Christina York. She's founder and CEO of Altality, who will discuss using technology as a therapeutic intervention. Christina is an information architect and user experience researcher by trade and has spent 15 years designing technology solutions for healthcare and higher ed. Join me in welcoming Christina.
Thanks, Paul. Hello, all 757 attendees of Tech Talk. I'm going to give a lighter side today, some fun aspects of technology and how our company, Spellbound, uses that for the greater good. So, play is the work of the child. It's how children learn to engage with their world, how they begin to understand laws of physics, and how they begin to develop emotionally. But the first thing that goes out the window is play when a child is hospitalized, when they're facing illness or disease or even just injury. Hospital's not really a place that's conducive to play for children. I started a company a couple years ago called Spellbound that uses augmented reality technology for therapeutic play in hospitals to help ease children through this process and help them to engage more effectively with their treatment. Now, before I go any further, augmented reality, if you haven't heard of it, is adding digital experiences to the physical world so that they can be experienced at the same time. So think Pokemon Go. We do it by using a mobile device and our app and pointing it at simple things like cards or children's books or wall decals. And then we add a little mini virtual world on top of that. It's really cool, trust me. You can come see us at Spark. We'll have a table, you can try it out. You can even take some augmented reality home with you today. But we use this because kids need help coping with the hospital experience. They need a creative, imaginative play outlet when they're there, and this is because this is their coping mechanism. So whether it's a child that needs to be distracted during just a frightening procedure like the child on the left who is undergoing a sleep study prep, asking a child to hold still for 45 minutes while you glue a bunch of 27 leads all over their body and put a cannula up their nose and wrap their head up like a mummy. This isn't painful, but you can imagine that a toddler does not want to cooperate with this treatment. And giving them something that they've never seen before and a little mini whole imaginative world to play with, it allows them to cooperate with that treatment so the staff can get their job done more effectively. It can also divert attention during painful procedures, like the child on the right in the ER, who might have to undergo some things that are not so pleasant, but getting that child to engage, immerse themselves in an imaginative world is highly effective for cooperation. Now, there's some qualities about augmented reality technology, which is why we use it for helping kids cope with hospitalization. I'm going to talk about 3 of them, why we chose augmented reality. The first is that it's immersive. If you've heard of augmented or virtual reality, you know it's some of the most engaging and immersive technology around. But with augmented reality, it's not too immersive. So it allows the child to engage with the real world at the same time so they can see mom and dad and be comforted. Augmented reality is visceral. It allows the touching of both these physical objects and engagement with the digital world in a way that actually encourages motor skill rehabilitation. And it's motivational. Because augmented reality imbues the real world with qualities that it wouldn't otherwise have, it's almost like giving it superpowers. And sometimes kids need that encouragement to believe that what they thought was impossible is possible. And it might be as simple as being able to raise their arm. So what augmented reality does is combine what is there, the physical world, with what is not there, the digital world. And it changes perception. It changes what people believe about the situation. And this is our goal, is to change the stories that are told about hospitalization, change the memories that children take away, not talking about the horror stories of what happened to them there, but talking about the magical world they were allowed to play with while they were undergoing their procedures, while they were engaging with their therapy. And this is what we want to change because hospitals and the hospital staff there are the people in place that are trying to help you to be well. And we want kids to have a positive engagement with their health. A final story about the power of play in hospitals. So to understand what it's like, we frequently go to the hospital. We talk with the therapists and the nurses and the physical therapists. And when we're allowed, we get to watch the kids. And so we just bring technology sometimes to the hospital to see how kids engage with it so we can learn. And this is a picture, we'll just call him Andy. He's been living in the hospital for a very long time. And that can be frustrating and boring, depressing. And keeping his spirits up is really important, but also keeping him engaged with this therapy and moving around is important. And so this is a picture. We brought in a Hololens, which is an augmented reality headset so that he can see through and see his room around him, and it adds digital things there. This is an Oculus Rift. This is a virtual reality. But to the point, when we gave Andy his headset, he sat in his bed and he was playing around with it a little bit, and after a few minutes he stood up and he was moving around his room and he was shooting aliens coming out of his room and walking around his bed. And a woman that was in the room stopped and watched for a minute, and she turned to me and said, "What is that?" And I said, "Oh, it's augmented, he's playing an augmented reality game." And she said, "He hasn't gotten out of his bed in a week." And for me, it really drove home that, yes, this is about engaging children. It's about giving them an imaginative outlet using technology, but it's also about improving quality of life, not just for Andy, but for his parents. So I want to thank you today for this amazing turnout for Tech Talk. Come see us at Spark, give us a little love in the app in the venues area, and try out some augmented reality today. Thank you.
So what is the biggest roadblock you've come across in your career?
Thanks, Phil Santer. Probably myself. I'm going to say that I'd worked in tech companies, great tech companies in this community, for 13 years or so before I started my company. And I think the challenge of overcoming the fact that I didn't know everything, that I was coming into a completely new environment, and I had to unlearn everything I thought I knew and be open to new possibility and be open to new ways of doing things in a startup. That was a really big challenge that I think we've really overcome. We've had a lot of success lately and are using some of the top hospitals in the country, and I feel more confident as a CEO to meet with the CIO of Stanford now and be able to have tough conversations and win those things. So that's my biggest challenge. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Let's give Christina a big hand.